Welcome. Welcome to Producing Online Shows, NERFA 365's seventh programming workshop that we've done since we started back in late November, early December. We're really, really pleased to be here for a very important conversation on sort of the nature of going virtual and ways to do it to really garner as much attention as you possibly can. And we really, really are blessed to have an immaculate panel of experts and people who have been blazing trails in this particular area. My name is Ethan Baird. I am the Executive Director of NERFA, and I am here to remind you of the other things that we're doing and to softly hand this off to Chris Wink, who is going to be our moderator tonight. I want to remind people that we did start running peer groups, and they have been remarkably valuable. Our partners at Music Cares have actually said it's one of the best mental health opportunities out there for people, is the opportunity to get together and talk. The performers one is coming up this Monday at 4 p.m. That is moderated by Rod Abernathy and Genevieve. If you are interested in more information, would like to be part, just email performer@nerfa.org for more information, and would be happy to get back to you. That being said, I just want to thank you all for coming. Please interact with us in the comments. You will be rid of my face as we head it off to far better folks, but I will be interacting over there. So feel free to ask questions. We may save them to the end if they're not relevant specifically to what's being discussed in the moment, but please do say hi and let us know what's going on. And with that being said, I'm really happy to hand this over to Chris, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh my, says I'm in the show. So hi there, everybody. I'm Chris Wink. I'm here actually to learn as much as you are about producing an online show. I run a radio station. Nobody ever sees me at a radio station. Yeah, I get to be behind the mic. I actually am doing my show in the closet over my shoulder here. So it's a lot of fun. But now I'm outside of the closet. I'm here talking to you tonight, and we have a great crew who are very, very good at what they're doing. And I've seen some of the stuff they're doing. I'm really impressed. We've got Jamie Harris, who's a singer-songwriter with us tonight. And I think I saw her Gibson Gilly in their background somewhere. We'll ask her about that later on. Kelly Lynn Knott, also a singer-songwriter, also both of them producing shows for themselves as well as for other people, and we'll get them to dish on some of that as well. And Daniel Fega, who's with the Sellersville Theater. So why don't we have them come on and actually say a little bit more about what they do? Because, I could say things, but it's more important to have them look. Smiling faces. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello, Chris. Hello.
So who would like to start off telling us a little bit about what you're doing, and then we'll sort of get into some of the nitty-gritty of some of the things here tonight. Volunteers, step forward.
I will step forward. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jamie. My name is Kelly. As Chris said, I'm a songwriter, and I have been friends for a long time with Susan Werner, and that's how I wound up streaming in 2020, sort of an accident. She reached out and had decided she wanted to do a show, and I started working on solutions for her, and we started adding guests, and each time we had a guest, I would meet a new person who would ask for some help, and now this is a full-time business. So I stream weekly for Susie on Sundays, every Sunday night. I assist with the Nields. Their manager, Patty, runs their show now. So I do two things. One, I run shows, so I do one-offs, and then I also coach people specifically on running their own show, and there are platforms that I like above others, and we'll talk about that tonight as well. So this is a lot of fun, and I'm currently I work with weekly Susan Werner, Jonathan Brooke, and the Nields, and this coming week I'm also helping out with a show for Dar Williams next Thursday on the 25th. So lots of fun stuff, and I can't believe that this is what I do for a living now. This is some of the most fun that I have had, and I have learned so much. Started from zero, and it's really been a fun time. And I got to meet Jamie earlier in the year when she and Mary came on Susan's show, and it's so great to see her again. She's an amazing, amazing musician, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with everyone tonight.
And Jamie, why don't you go ahead next?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Nerva, to be here and to reconnect with Kelly. I was so excited when I saw her name on the deal because I'm sure, as the artists know, the people that we have made connections with early on in the pandemic, I feel like are going to stick out forever because it is still the Wild West, but oh my goodness, in the beginning, it was like, I feel like we're all in the trenches together, sharing information. That's what I love about the folk community. Everyone has been so generous in sharing what they've learned, and I've been a beneficiary of that, and so I try to pass along what I can as well. I'm a singer-songwriter, but I love being in a supportive role. I sing harmonies for several artists, but primarily with my partner, Mary Gaucher. And after a couple of months of just totally not doing anything, we decided to start up a Mary Gaucher and Friends show. We call it Sundays with Mary. So every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we stream off of several pages, mostly Mary's Facebook page and her YouTube page. And every week we bring in a guest using this exact technology, which I know we'll get into later, called StreamYard, which allows you to bring in people from all over the world. So it's allowed us to bring in our violin and viola player, Michele Gazic, who lives outside of Venice, Italy, every week, which has been great to stay connected to him and also give him a chance to remain financially supported during this really difficult time. And it's been great because every week Mary has conversations with songwriters that she's known for a long time. They're all over the world, and they're able to give us their unique perspective on how the pandemic is going. And through that, I have learned a lot about streaming and on how to help other artists that maybe have never streamed before, which I think is the primarily most of the artists that we worked with is probably the first time that they've ever streamed. I think they see that Mary's a little bit older and that she's doing it. It empowers them that they can do it too. And it's been really rewarding to watch those artists continue and start streams of their own.
Fantastic. And Daniel over there at the Sellersville Theater, you got the theater in the background, right?
There it is. Beautiful Sellersville Theater there behind me. Yes, my name's Dan. I'm not a singer-songwriter, but I play bass for some, so I'm a bass player. So yeah, right. Beginning of the pandemic, it was like, what is going on here? Just looking for some ways to connect with everybody. I guess I should start off. I've been here at the Sellersville Theater as their technical director for about 15 years now, doing live sound and lights. And so we've established a lot of great relationships with artists and also our patrons. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it's like, how are we going to connect, stay engaged, stay connected to all these people? And just as a bit of a Hail Mary, obviously live streaming was going to play an important part of not only the quarantine, but also the foreseeable and then the unforeseeable future, right? It just became obvious that live streaming was going to be a thing. And so just kind of through the Hail Mary of like, let's just start a show and learn as we go, right? So reached out to some singer-songwriters and started up this show that is called Sound Booth Sessions. We called it Sound Booth Sessions because it's just me sitting here in a sound booth and kind of used the available technology, which I'm fortunate enough to have access to pull in some guests from their various quarantines using some nice free software available on the internet. So far, we're using mostly free softwares here. It's all hacked. It's all held together with gaff tape and tie line, and then also the way the show developed was it was a concert, but also a conversation, because as you all know, when you're performing in a live stream, there's that soul-sucking silence that occurs at the end of a song, right? And so just sort of on instinct, I kind of like would pop in and be like, "Wow, great, Brian Dunn, that song was beautiful. Tell me a little bit about it." And anyway, the format of the show was born. But that is proof of concept. We're now starting to open back up again. We've been open for about 6 weeks, doing live in-person shows, socially distanced seating at a minimized capacity. And now we have added a live stream ticket tier to our offerings with the rest of our tickets. So we have the live stream show that we've started. We have the live stream ticket tier option. We've started producing some of our own in-house promotion, for the theater and also the restaurant that we have as a part of our little complex here, a little 2-building complex here. And then also we've been a space for some artists who want to host streams of their own. We've produced a few shows here on our stage that then they've blasted out, to their own pages and whatnot. So I think that's about what that brings us up to speed, I think.
Yeah, that's great. So, folks, as you can tell, we've got quite a great crew here who've done a lot of different things. And we could dance around for a long time before we get to it, but we're going to go right into that elephant in the room. But gear, I've got to have gear to do this. How do I do this? What is the first thing you need to have?
Ethernet
Internet.
cable.
Yeah, Ethernet cable.
Ethernet
Yes.
cable.
Ethernet cables wins.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean so like I shouldn't be doing this on Wi-Fi like I am tonight?
Your Wi-Fi is pretty good, actually, but but when you start pumping sound music into Wi-Fi, that's where you really notice a difference. And I bet Dan and Jamie can tell if somebody's on Wi-Fi when they start strumming a guitar or even hitting keys or singing. The more information you feed into your stream, the less stable it's going to be. It has to do more work. So if there's lots of movement or lots of sound, you definitely need Ethernet. And artists, and I was one, artists will fight you on that. No, my Wi-Fi's good. My Wi-Fi's good.
Right.
It's not good enough. Get the cable.
That's right. I find that 100% of the people I've worked with just don't own one. They don't own an Ethernet cable.
We all donated them like 3 years ago.
Just go get
Who
one.
needed it? I don't need
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'm going to chime in to I am sadly on Wi-Fi today, so I feel guilty. I was like, I'm not going to talk about it at the panel, but I felt like I should. We're actually traveling because we're oddly are going to play a live show, social distance outdoors. So this is my mobile streaming setup, which does not include Ethernet. But I wasn't going to say it, but I felt busted. So.
No, that's okay. I mean, for talking, a lot of times it's fine, right?
We're not
Oh.
internet shaming. There's no internet shaming here.
Not yet.
I'm
anyway.
grateful. Yeah.
But gear, I know, Jamie, I have seen, so Jamie mentioned that she loves to be in service, and we've been doing this around the same amount of time this year during the pandemic, and I was telling her before the show, everywhere I go, every artist that I meet has already talked to her. They've spoken to her, and she's counseled them and given them advice and helped them. But she has, and I've seen it in one of the community groups that we're both in, this exhaustive gear list of her setup and what she likes and how she gets artists set up. And I'll tell you a few things that I like, and then I know Jamie has it, and I'd love to hear Dan too. But there are two setups that I use. I've also been enlisted to do a lot of virtual retreats for different artists. So I'm working with professional artists, and then I'm working with participants who have very little experience with sound gear at all, let alone streaming. And for folks who are new, I'm using tonight a Blue Yeti. And this is really simple if people don't want to purchase multiple mics. It sounds pretty good, but it's a better option for someone who can maintain their own volume against their instrument. If you sing really quietly, you can move the mic to adjust that. If and vice versa. But if you have trouble hearing those things, it's not a great solution. The other thing that I love, the other piece of gear that I really like, it's a happy accident. One of my artists got this from Sweetwater. It's the PV6 BT. It's a great little mixer. It's got effects built in, really nice preamps. This one has 6 channels, and really great with talkback apps like StreamYard and Zoom. Always works, sounds great. You can use it with or without a Scarlett Focusrite, but those are generally some things that I start with. And then the other piece, if I'm working with acoustic musicians, is ideally a really nice condenser mic so we can get some of the room too.
You were prepared for that one. You were ready for that question.
No, I'm just opinionated.
So Kelly is so great. I love it. I think that one thing that we have definitely been battling, and is just the overwhelmingness. And I love what Kelly said about, this is a piece of gear that works, because a little mic that I recommended. It's a little Shure mic that you can plug into your iPhone. I realized 6 months into it, nope, this mic isn't working after 6 months, and I'm not the only person having this problem. So that document, which I can throw in the comments, is a living document. I'm always updating it with things that I'm learning, because it's definitely a growing process. Mary and I love this ear trumpet mic that we have. It's an ear trumpet Myrtle. It's great for both of us, the way that we play, where we're positioned in the room. I will say, if you are going to go the ear trumpet route, one thing, and it came up in our sound check today, is that it does require a lot of gain. And so I have mine plugged into an interface, but we also have a separate studio channel that gives us just some EQ, some extra, like a little bit of compression, but importantly, extra gain, which I have found is super, super important with these microphones. I think a good alternative that's a little bit easier to work, and maybe, we're talking about how this is going to be hybrid. So are we going to be like I am now, streaming and on the road? I think it's always great to have other options as well. Tim O'Brien was on our show, the wonderful bluegrass player and songwriter. And he used a blue raspberry, which was great for his setup. He plays with his partner, and it was beautiful, and it was really easy to set up, and that works. And I could totally see that working in a mobile environment, which is great. But one of my biggest things is always have a backup. So if you have a Blue Yeti, if you even have one of those cheaper blue snowball mics that you can adapt into your phone, don't throw it away. Don't think, oh my gosh, I've got this amazing tube mic and it's awesome and it's the end all be all. Save it. Like, don't throw your other gear away, because you never know when something weird is going to happen. We were in a tornado, and I was going to use a computer for a live stream. I found myself, I'm going to have to use my cell phone. Thank goodness I have something for a cell phone. But I think definitely talking to Sweetwater is always a great idea. If you can get a rep there that will hook you up, you tell them your experience level, they will help you and let you know what's in stock, and they can help you get it set up as well. But I think the most important thing is you don't want to be overwhelmed. You don't have to go into this and set up a giant studio. If you want to do that, that's great. But the best thing I think to do is to be very, very comfortable with the gear that you have.
Or B&H, as we were just notified.
I want to say just
or
one
B&H,
other,
right?
I want to tag onto that real quick, and that is if you get stopped by gear, if that prevents you from streaming, do what's easiest. Grab your phone. I mean, if you have an iPhone, the cameras are decent. The sound is decent. Sometimes it's better than some of the mics you can get. If something stops you, use what you have and make that work so that you move forward and don't, lose months to this. Because anybody can do it at any level with any gear, and you can improve over time. So, Jamie, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off of that, Kelly, for my answer, because you both did just a great job with being specific about your gear. One of the things that I've had to contend with is a number of the shows that when I started this Sound Booth Sessions show, I was connecting with guests remotely, and so I was sort of, at the mercy of just whatever they had around, because in those early days of the quarantine, Sweetwater was sold out of everything, right? And B&H was sold out of everything. And webcams that were like $100 were like $600, and it was like, forget it. We'll just use what you have, right? So it was like, okay, let's just adapt. And so one of the pieces of free equipment that I want to shout out that was critical to our success was an online audio transfer website called Source Elements. And what it is it's like FaceTime. It's like a real-time connection, but it's full quality audio, it's full frequency audio, and it's bi-directional. Whereas like a Zoom call or FaceTime or Skype or whatever, it prioritizes the audio going in one direction, which is why you get dropouts. This is bi-directional the whole way through, and so it's much more conducive to having a much more realistic connection with somebody. And so we would establish our audio connection using that, and it was a game changer. And so it would enable me to connect with, essentially bring the artists whatever audio interface they had, we'd connect 2 channels of that using source elements, bring it into this soundboard, and then I could just mix them from here as if they were on stage. And so it was like, we'll just roll with whatever you have. And then anyway, so all that to say, I agree with you completely. The important thing is just stream, just do it. We'll deal with whatever gear you have. Don't let that stop you from performing. Put on the best performance you can. And at least for me, what my job in this was to try to take away as much of the technical hurdle. I'll handle the mix. I'll handle the stream. You just perform. And that was the way we approached it. Because I mean, then there's all this gear, but this is like pro show gear, and people aren't gonna buy a SC48. So, but yeah,
I love that, and I do think content is still king.
Content is king. Exactly.
See your audience, let them feel
Exactly.
seen. That's the most important thing. The
Yeah.
tech is secondary to that.
Right.
It is, and
To
I didn't want to
disappear.
spend too terribly much time on the gear, but I thought it was important that we get some of that out there, and that folks, could certainly, find some resources to come and see what else they could get. One
Well,
of
it's
the things I did-
unavoidable, right? It's the
Oh,
biggest
yeah.
hurdle. It's the barrier to
is.
entry.
It is.
But-
So you mentioned content is king. So we got to put on a show. How do we go about this? What do we do? What's sort of the next step? Once you have some gear, you're ready to do this. How do you produce a show? Because I just, in my intro, I mentioned I do my show from in that closet. Okay. Nobody sees me. I don't have to do this. You guys all have to do this. So how do you do this? How am I going to look good? Come on, really. Help me out.
I can weigh in on that a little bit.
Okay.
I think that this might seem a little woo-woo, but I think get a paper and pen out and write down why you do this, why you want to do this. Do you want to do this because there's a woman in a nursing home that can't leave her room right now because of COVID, and your music could bring comfort to that person? Do you want to do this because you're funny and you know that you can bring humor to the situation? Do you want to do this because you're an artist with a higher platform that has the ability to introduce your fans to a bunch of great songwriters that you believe in, and you want to do that during this time? I think if once you discover why you want to do this, that will absolutely help you step into the kind of show that you want to produce. Like, I know for me, I love the ability to bring friends in. I think having the conversation is great. One thing that we discovered that works really well is to talk, but I think I can't remember if it was Chris or Daniel that mentioned the awkward silence, right? You had a much better term for it. It wasn't awkward. It was like
soul sucking.
soul sucking. I was like,
sucking silence.
I should have written it down. It was so great. It was such a great term. Exactly. So we figured out, for a Marian Friends show, to have the artist, write it down, right? Have the artist play 2 songs back to back to get a little bit of momentum, so it wasn't so awkward. But yeah, I think ultimately figure out what kind of show you want to do, and you get to that by going back to the purpose of why you started writing songs or why you got into folk music particularly.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. That is really tough to add to, because I think you sort of got to the heart of it, and we could reach out to different appendages. But if you're starting there, everything else is going to fall into place. If you know who you're reaching out to and what you want to offer them and what that could bring them, the show will happen, and it will be beautiful.
And just an encouragement to get weird with it. I mean, it's like we're still in the Wild West, right? This is all the Wild West. So, I think the more hyper-specific to the things that you care about and the things that you're good at, when you combine those things. So, I don't know, it's a great time to do something that's not the typical format, right? We know what concerts are. We know what they look like, but we're still discovering and creating what a live stream concert is, right? There's no expectation for what that is. So bring in all of your hobbies, and the more individualized, I think, the better. And it's a novel format, so there are no rules. Try something different.
Yeah, and there's so much room for pulling the audience in new ways and letting them interact. And I don't know if you've seen this. I bet you have. just the way that I see a lot of the same audience members across different artists' streams. They sort of meet each other and they start talking in the stream about someone that they heard, and then 3 more people go over that artist, and it's become a community. And a huge part of the show is the audience greeting each other, asking each other how they are, commenting and being together. And that's something that I think is really special about live streaming, especially since we're dealing with people who would probably never meet from all around the world who are coming together at one time and are now a part of a bigger community. And I think that's something unique to live streaming, that we can address community in a different way and really bring people together and let them feel connected.
Exactly. There's definitely a pot of fans that we've seen connect, and a guy that lives in the UK, and our fan says, oh, when you come to Austin, we want to take you to the Continental Club. I mean, really cool stuff. And we've got four fans that met during the live stream that we do every Sunday that are traveling to Key West to come to the show. I think they've all been vaccinated, and they're going to meet each other for the first time
Nice.
next weekend, which is
Fantastic.
really beautiful. Yeah.
That's cool. One of the questions that's popped up for us here is, do you have a platform of choice? Like, is there a platform that you say, oh, this is where I feel I have the most success?
I'll weigh in on that. And I also want to mention, just recently I started working with Beth Nielsen Chapman, who has been teaching me a lot about this world. She's great. She's talked to Jamie. The first thing she said is, I talked to Jamie. I love Jamie. She gave me so much good stuff. But I'm helping Beth. She does something called the Song Rodeo Roundup, which is an interactive song sharing thing that she does every other Friday, and you bring a song and she critiques, and it's very much about the audience being connected. And Beth wanted the Zoom aspect, so for Beth's show we do Zoom into Restream out to Facebook and YouTube, and that has some different challenges. Now sometimes it looks cleaner than StreamYard. My preferred platform is StreamYard because I think it's really, really easy to use. For the most part, it looks and sounds good, and we can get things on the screen. We can get information out to the fans. And if you're, trying to build revenue for an artist, it's really nice to be able to pop the tip jars on the screen so that people who are not involved in the comments, who aren't super techie, the audience members who aren't, that you can still get them that information. But I will say that it has been fun to work with Beth in a new way and send direct from Zoom and have part of the audience in Zoom for some of these, and then have the organic audience showing up on socials. But StreamYard, if someone comes to me and wants to be a new client, I start them with a StreamYard tour and sort of teach them about that platform, because everything in StreamYard is one click on, one click off. So anybody can drive it. It's really, really easy, and it makes doing things that you could spend a lot of time learning to do with, switching cameras or downloading OBS, and some people use that with StreamYard. Things that are complicated, it makes it really easy. You don't have to be technical to use it, so it's my go-to platform for someone who's new to streaming, and it's my favorite if I'm running a show. I prefer to use it. So that's me.
Nice.
You want
Go
what was
right
that, Chris?
ahead. You got something.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I'm handling all the tech for the moment over here. So I use OBS. Again, it's a free software. It's called the open source broadcasters. Some OBS words is what OBS means. Open broadcaster software. That's it. And you have to spend some time learning it. But once you learn it, it does all this stuff. It handles multiple video sources, multiple audio sources, graphics. You can pull in web pages. It's really astonishing what this piece of free software can do. And of course, you don't pay in money, you pay in time to learn how to use it, and then troubleshooting it when there's glitches and what have you. So know that going in. But OBS has enabled us to do everything that we do here, and then we are trying to meet our audience where they are, so we broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. We have been privatizing our live streams. So we have 2 offerings. We have a free show. We have this Sound Boost Sessions, which is kind of our free to the public, which we do on Facebook, because in my opinion, Facebook has superior connection tools. It's better for interacting with people and typing and emojis and all that good stuff. And then YouTube has been a great spot for us to handle our live streams of our in-person shows, because we can make it exclusive, and there's less interaction with that. There's not a lot of comment action in those shows, but it's a much higher resolution, stereo audio, and it looks great. People in that forum want to like blast it up on their screen and put it through their stereo. And YouTube, all the resolution specs are way up versus Facebook. So those are the OBS to Facebook or YouTube is how we do it.
Cool. Is there once you somebody says, what about vMix? I see popping up on the screen there. Is anybody familiar with vMix?
I have not used it. We are like Kelly said. I love StreamYard. I mean, I think like we've had Butch Hancock on, who lives on the border of West Texas in a mud hut, and he was able to operate it on his iPad. So it's really friendly for a lot of the artists that we're working with. I love StreamYard, and yeah, exactly. And like Kelly said, there's within StreamYard the option to have little banners up, and if you want to get more involved with that, you can set a brand. So if you're working with multiple artists, like you can see here in the corner, we have a little NERFA, the little NERFA logo there. You can have a graphic designer maybe come up with a great logo that you can use, and come up with a color theme. You can save those. I'm no longer using the little banners that are native in the app. I actually create them in another free program called Canva. Just so that they can be more on brand with our text, and with the color, the theme of the show. But for house concerts, which I've been doing a lot of virtual house concerts, it's got to be on Zoom. That personal, seeing somebody else's face is really helpful when I'm doing a show like that. So I use both technologies, kind of like Danny was talking about. They each serve a different purpose, and it goes back to what I said initially about what kind of show am I doing? Where is it going to be sent to?
All right.
One other resource related to this, and it works with a lot of the other resources we've been talking about, is Ecamm Live. Have either of you used Ecamm yet?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You can go direct from Ecamm into different social streaming situations, or you can pull it into StreamYard, or you can pull it into Zoom, and you can set up different scenes. So it allows really beautiful camera switching and graphics. You can take that. I use Canva too. Canva every day. I love it. It's free, although I did upgrade to the paid version because there's more you can do. But there's so many free tools. To Dan's point, there are so many free tools if you're willing to invest a little bit of time that you can use. And each week you can learn something new to improve your stream. So you start where you are. Like Jamie said, start from your heart and why you're motivated to do this,
right,
and it falls into place.
That's right.
Do you guys recommend doing things with regular schedules? It seems like, because the folks you're working with are doing regularly scheduled shows. Would you recommend that to folks to find a time and do it?
I have artists who do both. I have I have been lucky enough to work with Dar Williams this year on her online retreats, and then her shows she does less frequently, maybe every other month, and it's not necessarily the same day each month, but her attendance is great because she's Dar, and she inherently does what Jamie said. She starts from her heart, and that's where the show comes from, and people feel that and show up. But I do think having a weekly time and committing to it, even if you don't, like, as someone who I'm also doing a weekly stream, some Tuesday nights, I don't, I feel like I can't do it, but you show up and you do it, and the people are there, and the second you start and you see those names pop in and the community starts chatting, it's worth it. And so I do think there's value in that, because especially in this time, people are looking for connection and something that they can count on, and that could be you in your stream.
Good one.
Yeah, invigorating to see that the community getting together. Couple StreamYard questions we have. I'm waiting for the question. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that. Used OBS,
Yeah.
It was complicated.
It is
what
complicated.
What do you do if you use StreamYard without it?
I think you lose some of the customization. I mean, OBS, you can really create anything.
Yes.
But I think StreamYard, you can, with Jamie's tip of using Canva or even pulling in Ecamm, you can very quickly create something that looks professional. I think OBS, there are some audio advantages too. Would you say so, Dan?
Well, I have not used StreamYard to be able to compare them.
Okay.
So I can't say for sure, but yes, the tools in OBS are pretty robust. It's pretty. If you want it to do it, it probably can. You know, it's one of those things. So you just have to figure out how. But there's tons of forums, and Google is your best friend. The more specific your Google question about OBS, someone on a forum has asked it somewhere, and there's like the exact answer you're looking for.
Yeah, like one advantage I've heard, I mean, there's so many advantages to using OBS, but one of my really good friends is Betty Sue, who's a wonderful folk singer, and she's also in a trio called Nobody's Girl with 2 other artists. And so in the beginning, they've actually just started using StreamYard for the ease and all of that, but initially they were sending a stream to YouTube, Facebook, I think Twitch as well, and Instagram. And the issue with Instagram is that it's a vertical layout. So they had to figure out how OBS was sending one horizontal layout like you're seeing here in Facebook, but then she had to figure out how to get a separate feed that goes through a different app to go to Instagram. And eventually what they figured out was it's not, I think they figured out it's not worth the type of viewership we're getting on Instagram. Those people are on Facebook as well. So it just depends on what you want to do and how deep you want to get into all of that, I think.
Mike over on YouTube asked, can you sell tickets with StreamYard?
Not necessarily with StreamYard, but there are different platforms you can incorporate. I have seen, and I'm really interested to hear what everybody has to say about this. I've seen that often revenue in this time is higher if the ticketing is either a sliding scale or a tip jar. Audiences are donating above ticket prices over and over again, and if there's a flat rate for a ticket, sometimes they'll just pay that. Whereas if there's a tip jar or open-ended amount, people are being really generous because the arts are so important now. But you can use Eventbrite. There's all kinds of different things that you can configure. You can use your own website, and a Google form will do it. There's all different ways that if you want to have a set ticketed price, that you can work that in with StreamYard and then send a link out. And StreamYard, one thing to know, has to beam to a platform. So it's not like Zoom. You don't come in to a room. You can with 10 people, I think, with the Pro plan, but it beams somewhere. So it's going to beam to a private website. It's going to beam to, or it's going to beam to social channels.
Hi, Ethan. That was Ethan, by the way, that mystery man that just popped in. He's doing the tech for all this.
I wondered what that was. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I was like, what was that?
That's great.
It's a drive-by Ethan.
We had somebody popped up a question there about, and I'm going to forget now. How to get outside folks like a tech person to help the musician. There it is, right there. Might benefit from having a tech person. Do you think that's really the case, or do you think just once they've got somebody set, you help them set them up, maybe they can run it themselves?
I have a strong opinion about this as a tech person who helps artists. I think starting yourself is completely doable. I think you do it by yourself and you learn the ropes. It's completely doable on your own. But it is part of my philosophy and my job and my being that's my role here. My role is to help. So I absolutely think that if you have access to a tech person who you can rope in, or just a second person who can act as the tech person, somebody who's watching the stream, somebody who's watching the comments so they can read them out to you so you don't have to be watching it, so you can stay in the zone. I still think that as an artist, some of us are born artists and some of us are born tech people. Not saying they can't be the same thing. I just mean if you're an artist, you get into the flow state, you get into the creative zone, and it's nice to stay there and not have to worry about if the stream is live or if you're having audio problems. And it's nice when there's another person for that. Totally agree.
Sure.
100% in for that. One of the things that I do whenever a new client approaches me is try to give them a tour and overview and teach them the basics, so that if I get hit by a bus, they're good to go. And I almost always end every new session saying, so you can do this, and if you want help, you'll let me know. You can send a text and I can help you, or you can hire me to help you if you want. And many come back for the reasons that Dan mentioned. Just having someone there so that they can stay in the headspace. They could absolutely do it themselves if they wanted to, but it's two different worlds, and it's hard to do them both at the same time.
Yeah, right. Just consolidation, right? It's just you focus on that, I'll do this.
And Ethan stole my line. Don't get hit by a bus. Thanks, Ethan, for putting that up there. This is really great. I'm really, I'm learning a whole lot about doing this. There was somebody who asked, are there resources for hiring a tech person like yourselves? And is there somebody that you could reach out to for the graphic design work or something like that? Are there places where folks can go?
Most of the online streaming platforms, Ecamm, Restream, StreamYard, have different Facebook groups to help people sort of learn the ropes. And those community groups are fabulous because there are people in there who are doing things with the software that is supposedly impossible. They're hacking it and finding new ways to do things. And often those platforms now are keeping comprehensive lists of people who have jumped into this line of work. So you can reach out to StreamYard and contact them and say, hey, who's doing this now and who's working with, I mostly work with solo artists or duos, but I did an 8-piece jazz band in Pittsburgh and worked with a studio there, and I was able to, meet someone that way. When I did another gig, I was able to find someone else through StreamYard who I could consult with. So there's plenty of resources. And I saw that NERFA's going to put up a list too.
Yeah. Right there, it says that NERFA compiling a list of virtual producers and make that available at nerfa.org. Thanks, Ethan. You mentioned, Dar will do a show not on a set schedule and just people show up because it's Dar Williams. How do you reach out to people, though, to make sure they know you're doing a show? I mean, if you're Dar Williams, apparently you can just say, I'm doing a show, and people show up, sort of.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. So with the Mary Show, what we're doing is that, part of why we want to do this is we want to expand our community, and we want to share our community with other artists, which I believe Susan Warner has a very similar mission. And so one of the issues, we've actually only had one artist that declined, and so that artist did not end up being on the show, is that we want to stream on your Facebook or your YouTube channel. Which is, that's great because then, that it just helps expand. We're very into the folk, we're sharing kind of vibe of this pandemic, and it's great for this show. But it's interesting that you say that because the Mary Show, I think because it's a friend show, works really great. Another friend of mine, Bonnie Whitmore, she had a residency, I guess still does, who knows, I mean, it's the pandemic, at the Continental Gallery, which is a pretty legendary room. James McMurtry plays it every Tuesday. And she had a friends show there every Thursday where she brings a guest. So there was already a community kind of built around that. And she very quickly at the beginning of the pandemic moved that show over to Zoom. And so kind of what we were talking about earlier, there are people that have never been to the Continental now that live in all parts of the world that can't wait to go and see that show, which is very cool because she has been able to recreate that experience. And part of that is that, that club is a very, I'm sure, Daniel can relate to this, but, the door guy shows up in the Zoom show, the bartender is there, and she has been paying the bartender a portion of the sales every week, which I think is beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful thing for artists to consider too. If you have a hometown club that has gotten behind you and you support and you believe in their mission, think about doing something like that and collaborating with them. But for me, it's, I have found I'm more of a developing artist. I don't have 40,000 followers on Facebook like Mary does. I'm very much at the beginning stages of my career. And so I believe it's more important for me to space out my shows because of where I am at the level with what I'm doing. And I try to do something to make it special every time. At the beginning, I did, I'm going to play my album from beginning to end, in this new way. Or sometimes I team up with friends also. I think the friend thing is always a great strategy for artists that consider budding because people are excited to discover new artists. And I just think that's an exciting thing to be a part of. So for me, where I'm at in my career, I'm not going to play every week. I just think that that's not feasible for the incredibly supportive fan base I have, but that's just not a good idea for me or what I want to do. And recently I was involved in a panel with Fleming Agency, and we had the booking agent from City Winery Nashville on a panel. And he brought up a really interesting point, which is when we move into this hybrid scenario, they're going to have to ask for digital radius clauses. Which I was like, I can't believe I didn't exactly think about that. And I'm curious as to how that's going to play out in the future, because I think a lot of us are, of course, the streaming, we're going to have to move into a hybrid thing. But what do you do if, okay, one night I'm playing Kansas City, then I'm playing Nashville. You can't exactly be online all of those nights, can you? So I'm curious if anyone else has thought about that or has any ideas about that.
That's fascinating, and we're going to have to tackle it. Yeah, that's huge. I have no ideas on solving it.
Where's that question coming from? Is that coming from like a venue, or is it coming? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, citywide, because
the show's being broadcast from Antarctica.
I know.
I wondered where Ethan was.
Yeah, I asked, like, what is the hybrid situation? What is City Winery doing? And he said, well, we're putting in cameras into, our locations now. Right now, it's a big part of what we're doing, of course, with limited seating. He's like, but not every venue is doing that exactly. So what's going to happen when you're streaming from the City Winery stage one night and then you're streaming from Knuckleheads the next?
Right.
I don't know.
And Knuckleheads doesn't want their crowd to be smaller because everybody watched from their geography, watched them at City Winery.
Right, which of course I also think has to do with an artist fan base as well. So, if you're Bruce Springsteen, if you're Fish, you've been doing that since the 90s. You can totally do that. But if you're folk singer Jamie Harris from down the street, you can't.
I'm not so convinced that that's actually going to be a problem, though. Because I think people, the fans, you're always going to prefer to see your favorite artist live, right? So if you have the ability to see your favorite artist live at your venue down the street, you're going to go do that. And otherwise, you could conveniently see them from your own couch every night of the week. And if you're willing to pay for that, why would a radius clause stop you from doing that? I don't know. I don't really care for that idea. Yeah, but we'll learn, right? We'll figure it out.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to get more opinions on that, because I think some will feel threatened by it, and others, like you, Dan, won't. We'll see that it will flow organically either way.
So once you're up and running with your show, weekly, monthly, every third Thursday of the fourth month of the fifth year, how do you engage folks? We're getting a few questions on our thing here. Is that what you're doing? You're answering questions or seeing comments? What other kinds of things are you doing to keep people engaged? Because it's different than a show, isn't it?
I'll hop in on that because I suspect you ladies have a lot to say in this department, so I'll be quick. But so in my show, which is called Sound Boost Sessions, like I'm just going to keep saying it, which broadcasts every Tuesday at 8 p.m. It's a weekly show. So on Sound Boost Sessions, they started with it being me and the artist talking, and then we would just engage the comments as they would pop up, right? So it's like I'll keep my eye on the comments, and if somebody says something particularly juicy, I'll share it as a way to try to transfer that energy up to the performer. But things like questions, I'll try to vet the question if it's one that fits in the flow of the show, and if somebody requests a song, I've pre-established with the artist if they want to hear about it or not. Like, are you taking requests tonight? Like, only if it's on the set list. Okay, so I'll just time seeing that comment until right before I see on the set list that you're going to play it. So yeah, in that way, it's about before the show. As our pre-roll is going, I'll talk to the people who are coming in, ask where they're coming from. it's fun establishing a bit of a rapport with some of the people. We have one woman who drives all over the country for her work. So every week she's in a different place, and so we can kind of collectively all check in and see where she is, and it's like really fun. And my family all watches and gets to, we get to have that moment of like, oh hey, hi grandma, nice to see you. But yeah, it's a fun little thing. But yeah, I'm sort of short stopping it between the crowd and the artist, so I just have to pass it through to them. So
I have to say, all of the artists that I've worked with are doing a great job with this. People come back because they are creating community and they're very intentional about it. But in terms of engagement, Susan Werner is a master. She is always coming up with different creative things to try. And for her, she's looking for what might be fun for her. So she makes sure that she's interested and that she stays curious. And it's usually really fun for the audience. And the more interactive, the better. So, sometimes it's a song swap with a songwriter that she loves. This weekend, Daryl Scott's coming on the program. And sometimes she's got a wheel on screen and she's spinning a genre wheel, and she'll play any song you want in whatever genre the wheel lands on. And then the audience gets to, vote. I mean, it could be anything. And so I think having fun and staying creative is part of it too.
Great.
Yeah. One of my favorite shows was Tara Spencer up in Nova Scotia doing her shows from her blanket fort in her basement. So
that's fantastic.
Good fun. And even one of the things that we do is on the radio stations, we've allowed artists to broadcast through our Facebook page as well. So, which has been a lot of fun. We've done that a few times with Beth Bombara. You guys mentioned special guests doing shows. You guys do shows with guests. That something you definitely seem to be advocating too for other folks.
I think it's great. I just like the interaction. I love, we're going to make a compilation video of all of these artists that we've had on this show. It's really interesting to hear like, what is James McMurtry doing during this time, or what is he thinking about, versus what is, I don't know, we were going to have John Hyatt on the show in a couple weeks. It's just really interesting to see where everyone is, like what, are you creating? We had one artist, Lynn Miles from Canada, who I think articulated so beautifully what I know a lot of artists are struggling with right now. She says, we can't, she's like, people are asking me if I'm writing right now. And she's like, and I'm not. She's like, I feel like I'm still in the muck of it. And I don't have enough perspective, which made me oddly think about the Nixon years with Agnew and all of that. And how it's like, we couldn't, like, no one could understand what was going on during that time. We had to get all of these years of distance and people willing to share to really have the perspective of what's going on. And some artists are flourishing. They found out that they love live streaming, that they like it more than, touring around, that they're able to be more in the moment. They don't feel like, as Sam Baker said, a FedEx delivery guy, like delivering songs and then rushing to the next town. So I think this pandemic, obviously, no matter what you do, is absolutely illuminated what your passions and your boundaries, I think. And so a lot of artists are wrestling with that. And so I think being in conversation with other artists and hearing that, especially right now, is absolutely fascinating. I was sharing, at Soundcheck, I used to play with a 7-piece band. I started out in a duo with my dad, then I was in a trio, and I left a 7-piece rock band basically by the time I left Austin and transitioned to now I'm alone completely on stage with just me and a guitar, and that's a completely different skill set. And I've learned during streaming, what I'm really grateful for is in Austin, I had a residency where I played every single week. And that definitely helped with like being able to talk about things that are in the moment, because when I was just alone, I kind of had to do what I call the Ray Wiley Hubbard show, where I have these jokes that work in between songs. Well, like I can't do that for every single live stream. So having a friend for me as an anxious person is really helpful.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
Daniel, we apparently have in the back end of this machine here running the show, we have some samples of these you being the shortstop at the show, maybe Ethan could play a clip or two for us so we can give people an idea of what you've been doing.
Roll the clip. Me too, Corey, in my house as well. So, Brian, after 10 years of songwriting, give or take, and what is it now, 3 full-length albums and a number of EPs and singles and what have you, how has your songwriting process matured or changed or stayed the same, if that's the case?
No, that's a good question. I mean, the process is pretty much the same as I've always used, which is I try to write in a lot of songs. I try to write in bulk. Okay. I think it takes the pressure off the inherent mediocrity of any songwriter, is to know that most of the times you're going to sit down and write a song. It's not a good one, but that's not a big deal. The more of those you write, the more you get used to it, and it doesn't freak you out. But in terms of the stylistically how it's matured, I think that when I started writing songs, I thought that I should write something for everyone. I thought I should write a song that everyone could enjoy. And now I kind of just want to write songs that like my cult of people would enjoy. I just feel like, I don't know, I think the only thing you can bring to your work is yourself, your own sense of humor and your own outlook on the world. So I'm done trying to write like Amazing Grace. I think I'm going to just write Nothing Matters Anymore.
Hello, it's Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. This is your Tuesday taste of the latest news from Sellersville Theater. Stick around until the end of the video for some highlights from our New Year's Eve celebration. Coming up this week, American Dinosaur on Sound Booth Sessions, our live stream series featuring a concert and a conversation with an artist we love. Sound Booth Sessions happen on our Facebook page at 8 p.m. The comedy of Earl David Reed on Saturday, January 9th. Now, Earl is a master at crowd work, so thankfully we are back up to 20% in-person capacity, in addition to our live stream option. On sale today, Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band, on Friday, February 5th, A Magical Evening with John Westford, the dynamic illusionist and entertainer, on Saturday, February 6th, Gabe Stillman on Friday, February 12th, and Tony Sands, starring in Sinatra the Musical, on Sunday, February the 14th. Tickets and information to these and all upcoming shows and streams can be found by clicking the links below. And now, here's a taste of some of the fun we had this New Year's Eve. So Happy New Year, and I hope to see you soon, either in person or in the comments section of a live stream concert. Bye-bye.
Everybody at home, sing it right now if you like it.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never heard his daughter sing a word he said, but I helped them drinking wine. And they all got the money by the wine, singing joy to the world. All the boys and girls, joy to the village in the Rosie, joy to you and
night. Thank you so much, everybody. We love y'all.
Wow.
How do you follow that?
Let me just say that band, AM Radio, will actually be here at Sellersville Theater tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. So if anybody really liked that, there are still tickets available. You can come either in person or come see a live stream, get a live stream ticket, and see them right up there on that stage.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. A lot of fun. Folks couldn't see this, but in the private chat, I sent Daniel a note saying we're looking for you to do a radio show now because that was you're pretty awesome.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Chris.
And we also had a nice comment about Jamie's twinkle lights back there.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you.
And I thought I was being so creative with my closet that I do my radio show and with my backdrop, but it's nothing compared to that.
You know, we are going to end where we began. This is actually just the lights of Key West behind me. They're not.
Oh, that's not twinkle lights back there.
They're not. No, but it kind of worked out, didn't it? I know.
It sure did.
It looks great. I was asking Jamie in the private chat what camera she's using, and the reason I asked is that's a question I get all the time. Do I need a webcam? What do I need? What are you using? A lot of people are using what Jamie is using. Do you want to mention that, Jamie?
Yeah, it's a Logitech HD 1080p webcam, which I think has been sold out a lot since the pandemic. Kelly, I'm curious, do you like using the EpoCam app that connects your iPhone as a camera? So I feel like with some apps I have latency and with some I don't.
Yeah, I've used it a little bit. I do like the iPhone camera, actually. I like the warmth that comes with the iPhone camera. And I have used the EpoCam app coming in, and there was a little bit of latency. It didn't always work. Sometimes it just failed. The other thing that I have done, and I don't necessarily recommend it because the first thing I think I said when I came in here was Ethernet cable. But I have done shows where people wanted to play with multiple cameras, where we've had iPhones on Wi-Fi for the multiple cameras, and we had a main camera that was streaming. And EpoCam allows you to plug your iPhone into your computer for extra stability. But the Wi-Fi cams actually worked pretty well. So... yeah, I like it, but I did experience some latency. But more than that, it just quit on me a lot.
So when this, what everybody's doing is they're creating their show, and certainly one of the big things for creating the show is to try and keep engaged with a community that you've either just started to build or that you've been building for years. But one of the other things that you're trying to do is find a way to monetize this whole thing, because in the end, sooner or later, you're going to need to buy a loaf of bread. You're going to need that jar of peanut butter and the jam to make a sandwich. So what would speaking of jars, tip jars, buying tickets, selling tickets, what kinds of things have seemed to work best for you or for other things that you've seen?
I'm a big fan of tip jars. I feel like people are really, really generous, and it's been really fun to see on a lot of different streams, my own included. The comments that come with the tips, people really need art and music right now, and it has value. And I have worked on some ticketed shows, and it can absolutely work. They can absolutely work. But specifically with a lot of the artists that I'm working with now, we go with the tip jar approach because it seems to exceed just a straight up ticketed show versus, and I think I mentioned sliding scale works really well too. If you're going to go with tickets.
Kelly, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Because I know you have artists who are doing like weekly regular shows. Was there a fall off? It's like they probably started off pretty good, but did tip jar income go down over time as the show continued?
It depends on the artist, but for a lot of them, they know what they're going to make each week, and
wow.
They have a really good sense, and we do know that there are certain things that result in more income. For some
Such
artists, it's different for each artist. For some artists, the guest shows are bigger. For some artists, the guest shows are not the biggest shows. Playing all the hits are the best shows. For others, it's doing something creative and funny. So my answer to that is you have to figure out what you do that your audience loves. Be aware of that. And, I read the comments religiously during the stream and relay anything that I get back to the artists that I work with. And we get clues there, but I think the audience tells you what they like, and then we look at the revenue and you kind of figure out what they like. But I want to go back to what Jamie said in the beginning about why are you doing this? I think if you're starting there, the revenue follows.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep asking you questions, Kelly, because I got another one for you. How about the people
Thanks for doing this.
who come back time and time again to see the artist multiple times? Do you find that they keep giving, or do you find that they do their bit and then feel that they can just kind of watch the show?
I see two different things. I see people who will come in and not give for a while, and then all of a sudden there'll be a larger donation, and that is they'll usually say, "Hey, I watched the last 5 shows and I didn't donate, so this is for those and this is for this." A lot of artists are also combining Patreon with live streaming in different ways, and so some artists are using that sort of as their pay gate, and fans will use that as their once a month tip. And they even though they're coming to the live streams. But I do see a lot of fans who tip every week, and they've kind of set a budget, and it's similar each week. And if there's something they really love, you might see that tip go. But there are certain names that pop up in the stream, and I know what it's going to be. And a lot of times it's a ticket price or more. It's what a ticket price or more would be. And then there are fans who they don't have the cash right now, but it has value to them. And every week they come in and they tip $1, and they do it every single week without fail because it's important to them, and that's what they can do. So
I did see a question come through about tip jars. It's not necessarily a function of StreamYard, right? Isn't this something people have to set up on their own?
Yeah, we use Venmo, PayPal, and we also, many of the artists I work with will accept checks. And we've found that there's revenue that comes there from people who don't want to put their credit cards in any of the digital options. And there's the Cash App, and there's all different ways to do it.
Right. I've seen the NERFA tip jar go by underneath us while we're talking too. So just to remind folks, make that tax deductible donation, and scan this, please, whatever that was. I don't know. Thanks, Ethan.
I should follow up on that, Kelly, because that tracks with our experience with our show. Is that there's the diehards who kind of come every week and are consistently generous and continuously supportive, and then you get the influx of people who just come in that first time, and then they're kind of all excited about it, and then they do their thing, and maybe we see them again, maybe we don't, but it's amazing. It's an amazing thing that people continue to be generous, even though times are tough.
Yeah, and I think it's I love that we were all forced to jump 10 years forward in time in terms of technology. I mean, many of us would not be doing any of this. We would still think it outside of what is possible, because I do think it's something that if we're creative about it and we're focused on the community, that it can help all of us grow and thrive, and it can help the venues and artists build their careers in new and creative ways. So I think it's a real opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we are getting close to the end here. Before we get there, we'll certainly have some time for questions from folks out there, if there's any more that we have missed or you just have something coming to mind. But I wanted to just see if there was any sort of final words of wisdom that you would like to leave folks with here today.
Oh gosh. I mean, I just think what I said in the beginning, search what align, especially if you're a folk singer, my goodness, align. This is a great time to connect if you're interested in recovery, connect with an organization that's, maybe doing online recovery shows and treatment centers, or if you're into mental health. I mean, there's so many opportunities to be of service right now, which I think is really important. And if you're struggling to find, what your heart is looking for, maybe that helps, really think about your areas of concern. I think that's great. And I also think Kelly brought up such a great point too. Ask your fans. I was surprised when I reached out to my email list, or I reached out to my Patreon community, what kind of shows they wanted. And it might not be a show that I want to do every week, but it did give me really good ideas on what would be appealing to them. You have that resource of your mailing list, go there, or your social media, go there and ask them. And thanks for having me, by the way. This has been a great conversation. I'm so glad to meet Chris and Dan and Ethan and everyone. Beth, thank you.
Yeah.
Back at you, Jamie. Nice to meet you, and thank you, Chris, for moderating. Let's see. From a music venue perspective, I started off with all of this kind of concerned for the future, thinking that it was gonna be, I don't know, rough, or that somehow this movement towards the live stream was gonna be competitive, or I don't know. I didn't know if they could coexist, and after the 10 or 11 months or however long it's been, time is crazy right now, but after however long it's been, I feel so hopeful, and I feel so optimistic about the way that these things are complementary and sort of symbiotic, and I just feel that it's two different products. I think live music is always live music. There's nothing like being in the same room with it happening. And then there's this other great thing that we can now do. All of this technology, and I think the best part, one of the things that's wonderful about this live streaming technology, is you have the opportunity to reach communities of people that you would have never had the opportunity to reach. Either by geography or because of capacity or because of some physical limitation that is preventing those people from coming out. Now they have a way to connect with live music differently, maybe. I don't know, but I feel so good about it, and I think it's all going to, well, I shouldn't say that, but I hope that it's all going to come back better than it ever was before, and can't wait for that to happen. But it's kind of happening now, right? It's like it's in the ether. It's happening.
I agree with all of that, and I think that's a great space for all of us to sort of live in this discussion, because we can create it that way. We have the choice to create it that way. Final words of wisdom for me. I love everything that has been said, but I think if you're curious about doing this, just start. And we've all sort of said this in one way or another, but you absolutely can do it, and you'll figure out what works. And the other thing I want to say is, even though we're expressing opinions about what we like and what we've seen and what we've learned, there are no rights and there are no wrongs. It's going to be different for every person, and you will discover what works for you. So try everything, follow your instincts, and just have fun. Start where you are and see what works, and you'll learn and grow and evolve and connect with other artists and other people who are discovering this tech. And I mean, we really are lucky to be a part of a community that shares. So reach out to other people, and if you need help, ask for it, and you will get it.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this has been wonderful. It's really been great to meet you all, even though we're wherever we are, and fantastic that we could get you all to dish on some stuff that is seems daunting, doesn't it, for folks? So now we are going to be here for a little bit longer, folks. So if there's anybody that didn't send through a question or wants to do something, I see one coming through now. Do you ever suggest a donation amount, or just leave it to the people to decide what they want to give? Thanks, Janice.
To the people. Leave it to the people.
Leave it to the people.
For me, yeah.
Same.
You leave it. You don't ever suggest a donation?
Not for a Facebook, YouTube show. If it's a house show or a show that provides an additional kind of value, like we did a live stream like from the Bluebird Cafe, that was a little bit different. But I think if it's just, sent out, then no. Just whatever's in their hearts to give.
I agree with that in terms of knowing what type of show you're offering. Sorry, I don't mean to be pointing at everyone. But knowing what show you're offering. If you were to go to a house concert now in real time in somebody's house, there would be a suggested donation just so you have a sense of something, and I think that can be nice there. But yeah, for streaming to socials, it's worked really well to just let people do what works for them.
We've done it both ways, and I didn't see any change. So I don't suggest one, but
and we're a public radio station, so we ask for a specific amount, and we offer the coffee mugs and stuff like that. So, yeah, super helpful. I keep thinking. Not sure who all's seeing that. Yes.
I want to just comment on that. You can grow in different ways. You can grow horizontally, get more people, or you can also grow vertically and just get a deeper relationship with the fans you already have. Both good. Both good.
That's a really good answer. And I loved, Jamie talked about that, and I loved what she shared. But again, there are no right or wrongs. So you figure it out and you feel it out.
Totally agree.
Have you guys
comment,
experimented with ways to widen your fan base or the fan base of people you're working with now that they can't be out touring?
Well, the cross-pollination of having a guest just seems to really, really work. And that's been a really good thing. And, a thing that's really been helpful to me in my stage of where I'm at in my career is the house shows. The virtual house shows continue to turn me on to great music lovers all over the world who maybe have, because of another artist's calendar, like, Eliza Gilkison plays at Macomb Creek Concerts in Chester, Maryland. So now they're online. That means I can go there. I have a new fan that's purchased I'm in a release cycle right now. I'm putting out a record in a few weeks. And so I've got some new merch. And this wonderful music supporter on Italy he saw me because of that one show, and he's purchased every single item I have on my merch store. And he's, become a Patreon subscriber and is coming to all of my live streams now. And he's in Italy. A lot of fans in the UK, we do have a global audience. And thinking about the tip thing too, we forget that different parts of the world are open or have different kinds of financial situations going on right now. And then as they go back into different, like when the UK went back into that lockdown when that new variant came up, then we had, again, a lot more people streaming from the UK because they were coming back, looking for that kind of connection that maybe because they were able to kind of float about in the world, they were coming twice a month instead of 4 times a month. So the global audience thing is incredible. It's been a great experience for me and where I'm at with my development.
Nice. Do you have recommendations on how folks could find people to cross-pollinate with?
Start with who you know. Reach out to someone that you absolutely love. Maybe you don't even know them yet. I've been invited by people I don't know or even people I don't know well to come and do a song or two. And my immediate instinct is, hey, you should come over. You should come over on Tuesday night too. And it's really fun and things grow from there. And it always evolves before or after the show into, what have you learned so far? What's working? What's not working? I think it's the best way to learn. And I agree with Jamie in that it's absolutely one of the best ways to grow a stream or grow an audience.
Cool. Very cool. So what I'm more used to asking artists questions. So Jamie, tell me about this new album that you have coming.
Seriously, do you want to know?
Yeah,
I put out a record a few years ago. It's my first record. So I got sober 7 years ago. So I started playing when I was a kid, but I really feel like I didn't write the first Jamie Harris song until I really got sober and my whole life changed. And so that's a big part of what I do is speaking about being in recovery, speaking about mental health issues, particularly depression. Which I know another artist, Heather May, is a wonderful artist. She is a great example of someone who's playing quite often because of the type of work that she does, because of the type of songs that she writes. She's reaching out to people in the trans community, the LGBTQ community. It's a really beautiful thing. I just want to mention that because I think what she's doing is great and is an example of maybe someone that doesn't have 1 million followers on Facebook that's doing a really beautiful, powerful thing. But yeah, so I took 7 songs from my debut record, Red Rescue, and went in with Mark Hallman, who's made a lot of Eliza Gilkison records, who I mentioned recently at the South Congress, or the Congress House studio in South Austin. And so all of these songs were done, in 2 takes. Just me and 2 harmony singers and a little bit of sparse accompaniment, including Ray Bonneville on harmonica. Jimmy LaFave sang on the title track of my record and passed away, and Ray and I became closer after Jimmy's passing, and so to have thing on the record is really beautiful, and it's more representative. A lot of people have asked me if it's a quarantine record, and it's not. I made it 2 weeks before we locked down, but I wanted to, because I had spent 2 years on the road being just me and an acoustic guitar, I wanted to capture kind of that moment in time, because it did bring out a different skill set in me. So it's available for pre-order on my website right now. Thank you for asking. It's called the Congress House Sessions.
Nice. Very nice. Cool.
And if you haven't heard Jamie yet, you must.
Jamie, we should do a sound booth session.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, yes. You heard it. You heard it, folks. You heard it. It's happening.
I need to do a live at EXT too. So reach out. Awesome.
Be guests. See what happens when you collaborate.
Cross-pollination.
It just happened.
It happened.
Cross-pollinating right in person, right while you're watching.
That's right
now. Ethan's reminded us about 100 times, and if I don't point, you see the survey going across the bottom of your screen. Please make sure you take that survey and make sure you rank these three folks as amazing. Okay, because weren't they awesome? Come on. Right. I'm pretending everybody's cheering loudly out there for you. You guys have been really great. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for moderating, Chris. Did a great job.
I haven't broken Nerfa yet. Good.
You're doing great. It's nice to have you come out of the closet and do this with us.
That when we first started broadcasting from home, that was what I used to get on. Everybody, please, Chris, come out of the closet. It's okay. It's 2020 now. You can do that. It's good. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it. But it's good. We're having a good time. Thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, and thank you, Ethan. Ethan's the man behind the curtain.
Yes, thank
you.
Making all this happen, look good. Switching cameras and all that.
Over there in Antarctica.
And of course, in Antarctica. And Biff, too. Thanks, Biff, for making this.
Thank you, Biff.
This group of folks getting together. Awesome.
Are we
Thank you
looking
guys for tuning in? Thanks for watching, being a part of the conversation.
Yeah, good questions and comments. One thing I don't know that we hit on there was probably an opportunity to say earlier when it would have been appropriate, but I'm just going to throw it in towards the end as like a last comment. But
throw it in.
It's kind of the popularity of like the podcasts and YouTube videos are all kind of combining in these are combining with live music and then the live streaming, and that's kind of what this new culture is kind of looking like online. And a big part of that is I think vulnerability is something that people are really connecting with these days, and I just want to encourage the folks at home who are thinking like, oh, I wouldn't know what to do on a show. It might not be professional. It might not look good enough. It might not sound good enough. My songs might not be ready. How would I rehearse with that person beforehand to make sure it was good enough? I just want to say, I kind of think we're in a special time where like the rawness and the effort and the intention is all very apparent, and those things really matter right now. So like your enthusiasm and your intention are going to come through. So like just do it and start, and if it's a little rusty, fine. Like people it's so special to be able to see an artist that you know and love make a mistake. You can hear them perfect on their record, but like to hear the way that they messed up tonight is so special. Like just do it. Like get out there and do your thing. It's my favorite part of every show that I've ever done is the time that the person makes a mistake or forgets a lyric or like flubs an ending and looks over at the bass player. It's like, what just happened? I don't know. It'll never happen like that again. It's special. It's live. It only happened now. And this is like such a weird, special time that we're in where like it's just a big old grace period where like
You've been listening to my radio show?
It all goes, man. It's all fine. Just do it.
Amen.
Been listening to my radio show.
Amen.
It's pretty messy every day.
None of us know how to do any of this. We're all just making it up. So just go make something up, right?
So
I
true.
like that.
So true. I love it.
A nice comment there from Sarah. Singing from across the room with a computer microphone.
Great.
We did a show
Been
with Rodney
there.
Crowell, and that's what he did. That's what he wanted to do.
Right.
He said, "That's how I'm going to do it," and he raised like $35,000 for Music Health Alliance for Nashville by singing into his computer. So,
That's
you know,
amazing.
you can do incredible things.
Yes, it all works. It all works.
Yeah. It is good. It is good. Great. Awesome, guys. I think we can wrap up. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And y'all had a good time. Hope you did, too. Remember to take that survey wherever it went. I don't know. There it is. Scan me, please.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, how do you do that? Did you just take a picture of it? Is that how it works?
I think so. I think you do something with your camera.
Whoa, yeah, your phone just knows what to do. Wow,
It's smarter than me.
crazy.
See?
Technology.
I always say
Wow.
people that they can listen to us on their smart speaker. The smart speaker is smarter than me.
Wow.
Thanks, folks.